In this episode of Man vs. Marriage, this show is for the ladies. But you still need to listen, bro.
The podcast.
How good do you want your life to be?
It's truly about becoming the best version of yourself that's possible.
This is Man vs. Marriage.
The podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, your humble servant, the Q Diggity Dog, up in the studio again with another awesome, epic, inviting episode of Man vs. Marriage. So it is I, Quincy Moran, in the studio with my wife, Jeannie Moran, and today's episode is a blockbuster episode. I can't wait for you to hear it. Before that, really quick, email us, coach@manversusmarriagepodcast.com, or get us on the Facebook. And that Facebook is at MVSM Podcast. That's right. Check it out right there. Hey. I don't know why I did that voice, but it felt good, sounded good, and it made me happy. Okay, dudes. The goal here is to help you. I've had cause for concern that if you take all these really cool lessons I'm giving you and go try to carry them out on your wife at once, you are going to cause chaos, because guys specialize in overdoing it, getting it done, and trying to get it all done as fast as possible. At least that's how I work.
Gordon Ramsay would say, shut it down.
Shut it down! Oh, man, the things he would say. I don't say those, but I laugh at them.
I do.
That's right, honey. You do. You've got a potty mouth, but it's a sexy one. So, this show is for the ladies. Oh, by the way, I can't sing, but I like to do it anyway. So here, ladies, if you will, I want you to understand, just take a moment to open your mind. This is why your husband is listening to this podcast, and this may not be verbatim, so I'll go more into why I'm doing this podcast. First, I am Quincy Moran, married for 20 years. I have 8 kids. I have a son, one son. I have triplets. I have twins and a couple single daughters. They were born singlets. They're all single. So, at 10 years into my marriage, my wife and I had essentially become roommates, if you will. And I'm here to tell you we had so much adversity going on in our life, our marriage, and our parenting that it was unreal. Just a quick dose of what was happening during that time. Like I said, we had triplets. We had twins. We had our kids get diagnosed with something called autism spectrum disorder. We had one of our daughters, one of the triplets, one of the twins, when they were born, had brain bleeds that caused them to get shunts. So we had seizures going on. We had brain surgeries going on. During this time, our kids were sexually abused by babysitters. We almost lost our house. We almost lost our relationship. And at one of those points, we didn't know if we were going to make it. That's the cold, hard facts 10 years in on our marriage. Were there happy times? Yes. Were there very sad and depressing times? Absolutely. We saw one of our children on a trauma table in a hospital with a flat line, no heartbeat. That's something hard to come back from. Thank God she made it. She's alive today, thankfully.
And ruling the roost.
And she is something else. But with all that said, and I'm not saying that you have to go through these levels of adversity, but for us, we were at a point where we were surviving. That's all we could do. Life was dealing us some pretty hard hands. We were at the table trying to play, but it was tough. And we kind of came to this point in our marriage where we looked at our marriage. Fortunately, we went to this personal development seminar called Living Life by Design. And then Jeannie started doing some one-on-one coaching. And then we went to a marriage conference. we were told, rate your marriage. I was a 7. She was a 5. I thought my marriage was actually a little higher, but I wanted to have some sense, so I went with a 7 because I figured we'd line up in the same place. We were wrong. And I think my wife actually went a little high because she thought it was lower, and maybe she didn't want to offend me. But I was absolutely butthurt because I thought I knew what my wife's needs were and what my responsibilities were as a husband, only to figure out that I didn't know what my needs were, I didn't know her needs, and I was not the man I had set out to be. So I went through this process of changing, developing myself, in setting an idea of who I thought I wanted to be and getting on the path to becoming that. And that was to be the best version of myself that I could. And the best version of me means I am the best husband that I can possibly be. I am the best father that I can possibly be. I am the best friend. I'm the best family member, the best employee. That I'm actually living up to this expectation that I set for myself. In my marriage, I didn't sign up for a good marriage. I signed up for an amazing marriage. And where I was at that time, where we were as a couple, was not meeting that expectation. So we decided to go and do some coaching. And as we started coaching, we found out that it takes 2 to tango. So it wasn't my responsibility. It wasn't her fault. It was our fault because we had stopped living and we had got to the point of surviving. Maybe you're not in that place. That's just where we were. That's where our journey had led us. So what did we do? We started coaching with Coach Rita. We went all in. We opened our heart. We had hard conversations. We didn't know how to listen. We were full of resentment. We were punishing each other in our arguments. We were disappointed. We were sad. She was depressed. We weren't having sex like we wanted to. We were not fulfilled. She was lonely. I was lonely. We could sit in the same room together and we could feel lonely. And it was sad. So we decided to give this thing a shot to see if our marriage could be as good as we wanted it to be. And thankfully, we both had willing hearts to do that. Mm-hmm. And it was messy. It got worse before it got better. But we were all in. And we've come to a place in our marriage that simply surprises me sometimes because I thought there was no way I could ever love this woman any more than I ever did. And I continue on a daily basis to prove that thought wrong. But it's because I took responsibility for me. I took personal responsibility for who and what I was and what I wanted to become. And that's the path that your husband is on right now. So I would imagine the more episodes he listens to, the more things he's going to come to you with, and you're going to go WTH. I almost said WTF, but I don't really talk that way.
You just said it anyway, so it doesn't
I
really
did,
matter.
but I didn't say it in that context. I kind of did. I'm sorry.
You want me to say it for you, babe?
Don't, honey. This does not have the E for explicit, okay? You're going to say, what is this guy doing? Oh, it's another one of this. It's another one of that. And that's a huge assumption on my part. But what he's really doing is setting out to be the man that he promised you to be on the day that you both said, I do. So I'm asking for a willing heart on your part. I'm asking for some flexibility and some open-mindedness so that you two can actually take a step back. Maybe your marriage is really, really good. Maybe it's really, really good. And all you want to do is take it to the next level and make it really, really great. And what does that look like? The beauty is you can actually decide who you want to be, and you can become that very person. You can decide how good you want your marriage to be, and your marriage can become that good. There are hills, there are valleys. You know, there are fat times, there are lean times. But overall, my wife and I have gotten just reinvested in our relationship. And it's been 10 years, going on 11 years, that we've taken this adventure together. And I'm here to tell you, with a willing heart, commitment, consistency, and love and dedication to one another, that it will blow your mind how amazing you can actually make your marriage. And I have come to find that my marriage is basically the foundation for my life. It affects every aspect of my life. So your husband is here because he wants to get to know you better. He wants to know and understand how to discover what your needs are, what your hopes are, what your dreams are, what your desires are. He wants to learn how he can communicate with you on a better level. He wants you to learn about him. And he's hoping that you two can redefine what your marriage is. And that's solely based on my journey and what I'm hoping for. Maybe it's a little bit different for him. Maybe it's a little different for you. But that's the overall idea of what this podcast is about, is that if we, being on the brink of separation and probably ultimately divorce, with our life in shambles, fully in survival mode, if we can make a comeback, we believe it's possible for you to do the same, and that you can have the marriage that you want and desire. And as you grow and change, your spouse will grow and change along with you, and your life and your relationship can be as good as you want it to be. And we are here as a living, breathing example of that success. And we love you. We appreciate you listening. I have my wife here because I can say anything I want on a microphone where you can't see my face. But I have my wife here as some credibility, and I want her to just say a few words to you. She's a very straight shooter. She does not know, she's not an expert in sugarcoating things, which I love about her. And I just wanted to take a minute to talk to you wives, to let you know what it is to have your husband on this particular path. Honey.
Well, first of all, if he's come looking to better himself, then you need to pat him on the back and let him know that you're proud of him for making that decision. Because for guys, it is not always easy to admit I'm falling short somewhere. It is not always easy to think that he is not the Superman in your life, that he is not on that pedestal where he's the hero that comes in and saves the day and everything is great and, you know, that everything is perfect. He wants to come in when there's a problem and fix it all. Well, now he's come here to learn how to fix it all the right way. With asking questions, with opening himself up, with making himself vulnerable to you, with putting you above all else. That's not easy for some people. If you have a history of trust issues, if you have deep hurts, if you have a betrayal, if you have, you know, just various different things that come along with being married, all of those things can be worked through. But what you need to see now is that he's taking the first step to do something different. He's looking for, how do we go from good to better to best? That's something that I cherish about my husband. He is not content with okay or good. Good is a milestone. It's a stepping stone, but we need to get to the next level beyond that, because there has to be more than good. When we get to better, better is great. We like being better. Better is an open place where we're talking more, we're doing things different. You know, we have accountability, we have permission, we have expectations, we have dreams now. We have all of these things, but there is still a best. How do we get to best? This is an ongoing process. This is a forever thing. This is not just a listen to a podcast, get your information, go home and implement. That's not how this works. So if he comes home and he's doing 10 different things all at one time and it's overwhelming, please stop him gently. I appreciate what you're trying to do. Let's try this again and start over at step 1. It's okay to do that, ladies. It is okay to say this is too much. Slow down. It's okay to say, this is a rough spot for me. This is a sore spot for me. Maybe we need another person's opinion. Maybe we need an outside resource. It's okay to do all of those things. But most importantly, always, 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 if he is willing to put himself out there and he is honestly trying to be vulnerable and help you and help himself and be better and grow in these things, embrace it, encourage it, affirm it for him, and try your damnedest to do it with him. If he asks you to listen to a podcast, I'm one of these people. My husband will attest to it. Honey, I heard this podcast. I really want you to listen to it. Ugh. Not my thing. I can do one with him. I can record one with him. I don't like listening to them very often. But I do like books. I love books. I love to read. So when he comes back and says, I found this amazing book. Now I can do that. Just listen anyway. I still make the time to listen, even if it's not my favorite thing to do. He's asking me to do this for a reason. There's something that he wants me to hear. There's something that he wants my opinion on, and it's something that he values. Those are all very important things to me because this is the man in my life. This is the person who means everything to me. If that's really who your husband is to you, give him this. Work with him. Let him do things in his way, but help him.
Yeah.
Be there. Quincy and I do this alongside each other. We don't just say, okay, Quincy's going into counseling and Rita's going to tell him what to do, and then Quincy's going to go home and do it, and Jeannie's going to say, yep, okay, cool, we're doing this. No.
Kind of tried that part, right? And Rita said, I need you both.
Well, first Rita said, Quincy, Jeannie doesn't think like you.
Oh my.
So where you said, oh, this is all I need to change, and you flipped a switch and said, okay, done. Tomorrow, this is the way it is. I went, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Because it takes me longer to adjust. Okay, we call them speed bumps. You just spun my world and spun my head. Give me a little bit of time to process through. I am not one to just come in and say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm just going to give you everything. I had trust issues, a lot of them. I came into this marriage with a lot of past hurts. 20 years later, some of those hurts are still there, but now we know how to navigate them together.
Right.
We know how to talk about them. That's what this is. This is a place for guys to talk with other guys who are trying their best to be the best version of themselves, the best husband, the best father. This is what this is for. This is what Quincy excels at. Helping people become the best version of themselves is everything that's ingrained in him. This is what he does. So I'm telling you now, from his wife, I'm biased. I'm totally biased. But I can honestly tell you, I have never known anybody who can help somebody attain their goals like he can. I'm living proof.
Honey, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was awesome.
I have
Thank
my
you.
moments.
You do. And we create some of those moments together. How about that?
Easy now. There's no E on this, remember?
That's right. So I know it, in one sense, this may seem like, a friend asking, a parent if, you can stay the night. So I get that, but it's not that. My motive for this is so if your husband comes home and starts talking about this wild and crazy dude named Quincy who has all these ideas, I don't want you to take offense to it, dear wife, that you are the problem. And really, neither one of you are the problem. You're both the solution.
It's really a gift if you think about it. He's cherishing you enough to want to be the best version of himself for you. That's huge.
It really is. And it's my heart's mission, my heart's desire is to reform what people think about a marriage and a relationship and really start to put into action that I can really make this as good as I want it to be. And we can live this dream together. And so there's there's 60-something episodes before this and some that talk about some things that are very important, which are listening, understanding, like Jeannie said, that she doesn't think like you, and that's okay. Having a hard talk, not assuming, being vulnerable, knowing how to ask questions. There's like a laundry list of episodes that come before this that are kind of like playbook style that help us as guys start to change the philosophy of who we are and how we handle ourselves and how we interact with our wife and our kids and work and everything. And so if you have some questions or maybe something sounds a little funny, feel free to go back and listen and take advantage of the email. And let me know how we can help you. We really appreciate all the listener feedback, and it really helps us help you. Jerry Maguire, help me help you. You see what I'm saying? That's where it's at. So from the bottom of my big old mushy heart, thank you for listening. And this is truly the road to an amazing relationship, amazing communication, amazing fulfillment, incredibly amazing sex, love, and all the things that you may have a hard time imagining now. Anything else you want to say, honey?
Yeah, for those that are sending in your questions and emails, just know, especially if the women are thinking, I'm not going to email this guy because it's just going to get guy's opinion. Depending on the emails, if there is something that Quincy feels needs the wife's perspective, he does discuss it with me, so you aren't always just getting the guy's side to the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to feel like, well, I'm not going to send my questions to him because I'm just going to get the male perspective. That's not true, ladies. He runs it by Rita. He'll run it by me. If he doesn't have the answers, he'll ask.
Yeah.
So don't feel like it's just a boys' show where the boys are going to tell you what the boys want you to hear. That's not who Quincy is, I can assure you.
Thank you, honey. I greatly appreciate that. And also know, guys or gals, if you email, we take it super serious and it's sacred, and we're not going to expose you or your information. We're going to keep it within the team here and really figure out what we can do to help you, because we're putting our journey on display so you can really redefine and navigate your journey. And we believe if we can do it, it's possible for anybody. Thank you very much for listening. This is the Q Diggity Dog, Man versus Marriage. Until the next episode, roll tide. If you're an Auburn fan, you probably won't have as good a marriage as you could. Thanks.
Quincy Wayne.
The podcast. How good do you want your life to be?
You gotta live on purpose, for a purpose.
It's truly about becoming the best version of yourself that's possible. This is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.